Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing the Radeon RX 5700 XT in Alan Wake 2 with the latest patch that supposedly improves performance by quite a bit on this GPU, as well as Pascal series GPUs from NVIDIA, the 10 series. So this one is the Sapphire Pulse edition of the card. We are running it with the latest AMD drivers available at the time of recording this video, and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power Up's GPU Z. It's running PCI Express 3.0 x 16 instead of 4.0, but that won't really affect its performance. And over on the left, we're pairing it with a Ryzen 7 5700G, that's why it's running PCI Express 3.0 by the way, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, let's go for the settings first. I'm starting at 1080p native resolution using the lowest settings. That's a common thing here lately in Alan Wake 2 with these cards. And that's because they lack mesh shaders, you know, and that's an important thing to run this game. And previously, they sucked, basically, in this particular title. They had like 15, 20, 25 FPS in the case of the GTX 1080 Ti using these settings. But now with the patch in place, they have been much improved to the point where it is playable now. However, with the 5700 XT, we're seeing quite a lot of stuttering, guys. I have not seen that happen with the GTX 1080 Ti. The average FPS are close to that of the GTX 1080 Ti, you know, and those two GPUs are very close in performance, actually. But yeah, those 1% lows, I don't like that one bit. It is stuttering quite a lot, unfortunately, and this is now above the minimum requirements, actually, because they ask for a 5600 XT on the AMD requirements as the GPU, and the 5700 XT obviously is a little bit faster than that, or quite a lot faster, actually. If you're standing still, just taking a look at the beautiful, well, not really that beautiful in low settings graphics, it is okay, but as soon as you start walking a lot, it just goes crazy. Look at that. So many little spikes. It doesn't feel smooth at all. Turning the camera around, you can probably see the jitters happening here. Yeah, this is quite disappointing. I don't think this is playable, guys. I mean, the FPS that we're getting are certainly playable. I could play this game with 30 plus FPS, which is what we're getting. Even here, this is the most intensive area that I've seen in this game. And it doesn't really dip from 30 FPS at 1080p native, but with that inconsistent frame time graph, it's unplayable. So I guess Remedy has remedied their situation with the 1080 Ti and maybe even 1070, but here with the 5700 XT, things are rough for sure. Let's do FSR on Quality, which makes it 720p internally, and then it upscales, of course, to 1080p. I'm going to start counting our FPS right here, and they should be a little bit higher. Yeah, touching 60 frames per second sometimes. But again, that stuttering is still there, guys. That is awful. Ugh. It feels like crap, basically, with all of those stuttering issues. And it's not like it needs to load in some areas. It's not like it's running out of RAM either, or VRAM. Both of them are under control. It's just how the game is behaving. Maybe it's just a driver issue. I don't know, guys. I installed the latest drivers, of course, using DDU as usual. What a shame. I really thought this was going to be a similar experience to the GTX 1080 Ti, and I would be sort of happy-ish with this performance. But no, it turns out it's just pretty bad. Well, what can we do then? I guess I will give it a bit better of a chance and install it in that PC right there with the 7950X3D, which is what I utilized with the GTX 1080 Ti. A super overkill system, I know, but maybe it's because of the PCI Express 3.0 that the Ryzen 7 5700G can't really go beyond, you know. Also, the motherboard doesn't support 4.0, but it is what it is. Yeah, this is terrible, guys. It still drops into the 30s even at 720p, basically, with FSR2. And it still stutters a heck of a lot. Damn, that's terrible. Also, a couple of people have been telling me in the comments in the previous Alan Wake 2 videos that the game actually runs way better on AMD GPUs using Linux. I don't really know much about Linux, honestly. I've used it like twice in my life, so I'm not gonna go into that, but if you guys are interested, well, just know that these GPUs shouldn't really have much of an issue playing on Linux. Okay, here we have it, guys. The 5700 XT is now installed with the latest drivers, same as in the previous PC, of course. In fact, you can see the 5700 XT glowing red right there. And in Tech Power Up's GPU Z, it is now using PCI Express 4.0 instead of 3.0, and resizable bar is also enabled. On the left, we're pairing it with the Ryzen 9 7950X 3D this time around, but with half of its cores disabled. And on the memory tab, we're now using 32 gigabytes. It doesn't really matter though, because it was using like 7. So let's see how it does now. All right, we're back here at 1080p native using the lowest settings again, and we're getting exactly the same FPS as we saw in the previous system, and exactly the same stuttering issues, at least here at the beginning, guys. So no, it's not due to like a bandwidth limitation of PCI Express 3.0 times 16. It's not due to the CPU being a bottleneck or whatever, or the RAM. It's just how the game is running with the 5700 XT. It's a big shame. Once again, even the GTX 980 Ti was smoother than this, even though it got less FPS, of course, and some flashing lights issue. Like the entire screen would go white for a split second, and it was very like seizure-inducing, you know. So terrible. Obviously, I prefer this. But this is not really playable, guys. Again, oh boy, it's exactly the same. You know, part of me was wishing that it was the PC previously, like Windows 10 as well. This is Windows 11 now. But no, it's a completely different system, completely different specs, and it's still exactly the same problem. It's stuttering like crazy, guys. 1% lows are at 19. That's exactly what we saw. Okay, let me just try it at 720 using like the medium settings, which are close to the PS5 settings as well, by the way. The quality settings on PS5. And I'm going to restart as well, just to make sure that it fully applies. And I just want to see if the higher settings with more of a GPU bounce scenario will make it better. But no, it's the same thing. Also, the 1080 Ti didn't really drop from 30 FPS using these settings. This one is slightly dipping into like the high 20s, but it is worst case scenario once again, so it's not really that big of an issue. It only dipped to 29. Again, the stuttering is just, it's the killer thing of gameplay right here. It also looks way better right now on medium settings. Medium in this game look fantastic, actually. But yeah, with those really low 1% lows, this is definitely not doable. I am going to try one more thing, guys, and that is locking the FPS with the RivaTuner statistics server right here. I'm going to lock it to 30 frames. We were consistently getting above 30, so it shouldn't really be a problem to reach that. And hopefully, by doing this, the frame time will get a lot better, because in some games, like Hogwarts Legacy, for example, it improves things massively. Here we have it, exactly the same settings, once again, and the 30 FPS locked, looking great right here. I'm going to start counting the FPS, and... alright, did we actually manage to fix it? I think so, guys. So if you lock it to 30 FPS, which is, by the way, what I would recommend you to do if you're running this game with a 5700 XT, since the FPS would be all over the place without the lock, you can actually get a stutter-free experience. So at least there's that. If you really want to enjoy this title and you don't care about 30 FPS or playing with FSR Quality at 1080p, which does look pretty decent, to be fair, over here in the forest area at least, yeah, go ahead and do so. Hook up a controller to your PC as well, just to make things a little bit smoother or feel a little bit smoother. Maybe add a bit of motion blur at the same time for that console-ish experience, and you should have a decent experience. I was not expecting this. A simple FPS lock completely fixed all of the stuttering issues that we were seeing. That's actually insane, guys. What the actual hell? Maybe it's just driver related once again. I have no idea. I am glad that I remembered to lock the FPS, because otherwise I would say definitely don't buy this game. Never play this game with the 5700 XT, even without the patch that was supposed to fix performance on the 5700 XT. It's still crap, but apparently just a simple FPS lock will fix everything for you guys. So if you're experiencing a lot of stuttering here in this game with a GPU from the 5000 series from AMD, just lock the FPS. You're gonna be okay. So don't get out of this video thinking that, oh, 5700 XT is a 1080p 30 FPS card or 40 FPS card on low settings. No, it isn't. It is a decent GPU. It's a fast GPU. It can do 1080p high in a lot of recent titles. It's just that this one requires new technologies that it doesn't physically have. So, of course, it has a worse time and a harder time running this particular title. So that's been it, guys. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope it was informative. Also, there is a Vulkan mod that people keep telling me about. I'm not really testing mods here in these videos because I tend to stay with what the developers give us. If you install this Vulkan mod or install it on Linux as well, expect a little bit better performance. But if you don't want to do any of that, you just want to play the game natively, how it's supposed to run by the developers at least, this is it, and it is now playable. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Love you all. Bye-bye.